All right. Okay, so this is Doug Badger Radio talking with Bianca Bruce. Bianca is in California. I'm in Minneapolis. What city are you in right now, Bianca?
We're in Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa.
Yeah, Napa Sonoma Valley.
Oh, it's the place people go to vacation, isn't it?
Yeah, we're on constant vacation here.
And constantly sipping on wine.
That's right,
No,
perpetual drunks.
in Napa Valley.
No,
Well, Bianca,
it's a
I'm
beautiful place.
really excited about the work that you're doing with your friends, the women you have there. It sounds like they're in the room with you.
Yeah, I have Julie here with me. She's going to be the spokes person for a group of them. It's Julie, Cindy, and Tina.
Great.
Hi, Doug.
Hello, Julie, Cindy, and Tina.
This one's Julie, but yeah.
Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being willing to share your story.
No problem.
I'm a friend of Bianca's, and it sounds like you are as well. She's a good woman, huh?
Oh, she's amazing. Yeah. She's an amazing person. She can reach the heart, that's for sure.
Well, tell us a little bit, Julie, about your situation. What is it that Bianca has helped you to do, and what is it that you're doing with the other women?
Our situation is all of us went through homelessness for a certain duration, differing for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was 2.5 years.
It was 2.5 years, and was that 2.5 years straight, or did you have different times where you had housing options and then lost those?
That's a good question. I had times where I stayed with a friend a night or two, but it was ongoing for 2.5 years when I look back at it. Yeah,
Yeah, Julie, I mean, I would imagine that was a terribly difficult time for you.
it was.
Yeah,
It was, and I wouldn't give it up for the world. And I know that sounds really strange,
it
but
does. Talk a little bit about that. Why is it that you wouldn't
because of the people that I've met,
really?
Bianca, Cindy, Tina, and
Yeah.
other women like us, who had to really pull, the bootstraps and make something happen. And it's possible, but it took a while to figure it out.
Yeah, Julie, had you ever known before you were homeless? Did you know anyone personally who had lived without permanent housing options?
Not personally, I had met people
Mm-hmm.
on the street, and I hand out food. I still do that today. Um, but really funny story is I'm an actor. I
Uh-huh.
have some experience, and I was on the set of Pursuit of Happiness,
Really?
the Will Smith
Yeah.
about homelessness,
Where he turns
right?
up homeless. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I pulled a cart and
But
played the homeless woman,
and at
and it
that
was
time you were not homeless.
nothing like what it really is.
That's interesting. And at that time, when you were an extra in that movie, you weren't homeless yourself at that time.
No, I wasn't. I had
Huh.
talked with some homeless people. There were homeless people in the movie out in San Francisco in the Bay Area. So I had talked with some, and in order to get into character, that type of thing.
Yeah. Did
But I had no idea what I was doing.
Did you ever feel like that jinxed you and set you off on
That's a great question. Yeah, sometimes I thought about that. Like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Should I have taken that part? Yeah,
Right. Um,
but yeah.
well, so I can just imagine that when you were in that situation, and you didn't have housing for yourself, was that filled with all kinds of shame
Sure.
and difficulty in thinking like, how did I wind up in this situation?
Yes, of course, yeah. Um, Personally, I went to what I would call a bottom.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I write lyrics, and that's what saved
Wow.
me.
Uh-huh.
And so I wrote about it constantly. There's lots and lots of songs that we've been putting together about homelessness.
Wow.
So, yeah, in particular. So that's what saved me. And also knowing that there is a network of women,
Hmm.
there are programs available
Mm-hmm.
that can help you get through homelessness.
How did you find those? Like I'm a pastor, so I sort of know a little bit about how someone might find their way to housing resources and so on, but
Hmm.
but I don't really know. Like I think if I were to turn up without housing, I don't even know if I would know where to go. How did you figure out how to navigate that world?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, on one night I had a place to stay, and the next night I didn't.
Wow.
So I stayed in my van for, I don't know, 5 or 6 days and figured, this is hard sleeping.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going to, take a shower. I'm uh, got all my stuff in my van and I'm trying to go into bathrooms and get dressed. And I went, oh, there's got to be something beside this.
Yeah.
And started finding out, yeah, there is. There's something called Envision at the time I was in San Jose. And that's a network in Santa Clara County that is the largest network that provides for the homeless.
Huh.
So I was lucky. I found that and got into a women's shelter down there.
When when people see someone on the on the street, or they see them sort of making their way through the day, and it's obvious that they don't have a place to live because they're carrying their items with them, or they're
Exactly.
or they're giving off whatever other clues there are that someone doesn't have a home. There's a lot of us who have certain messages that kind of run through our heads, right? Like, well, there's help available if the person wanted it, or I'm sure that they're not taking advantage of the options that are available to them.
Right.
What's the best way for people to think about someone in a situation like that, when they're just in the middle of their day or whatever they're doing, they cross paths with someone who's in this situation, who may or may not even be asking for help? Are those assumptions right, that there's help for people if they want it, or are people sometimes in that in between
They can
place?
be right. People. I didn't understand until I became homeless what it meant, and I looked at people on the street, or people who were carrying their stuff, as you mentioned, who may have shelter. People carry their stuff who live in shelters. People carry their stuff who stay with relatives when they go to their job during the day, but are homeless.
Yeah, I see.
So I looked at them too and thought, what isn't happening here? Why are they there?
Yeah.
And when I became homeless and sometimes carried my stuff being my van, I'm lucky because I have a vehicle. I knew. Okay, yes, there are options available. This is hard. When you fall this hard, this far, this fast, and it's not entirely your choice, meaning, hey, housing options aren't available, affordable housing options. They just aren't there. We're trying to look at it, doing great on the veteran side of things.
Oh yeah.
HUD Bash and at the federal level, but we need to look at that.
Yeah.
There's so many people who could fall at any moment. Your neighbor, someone related to the person who's walking down the street with their stuff. It could be anyone at any time. When you put the financial crisis in the picture, then it's twice as hard.
And you've done something creative now with you've joined together with some other women to pool your resources to set a new future for yourselves.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about that.
The four of us are, we had all lived together in the shelter system at some point. And this housing option became available through a property management company out in West Sonoma County. And this is the type of housing that needs to happen more often in this country, I think.
Yeah, just describe for us what that housing option is that you're in now.
It's a home, and they transformed it so that 4 men and 4 women on 2 different floors could become roommates and have a community living type of situation. You have your own rooms, but you share, the common space.
Yeah, it's like a college dorm.
Yeah, you could look at it just like that. Yeah, and it works. You feel like, okay, I'm no longer homeless. I can get on my feet a little bit. I can have my stuff in my own room, not have to carry it with me, not have to wonder, where it is packed in my van or in my suitcase. So I have some breathing room.
And so in most situations, I guess people live on their own or with just their chosen friends or family, or they're in a shelter, which is many people kind of in one shared large room, or lots of people. And this is something different. This is 4 or 8 of you that are pooling your resources to make it possible for you to live in a smaller collective.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. And it seems like more and more people are headed in that direction too. Because housing isn't available, and not just for homeless women or homeless men, but also for people who are, they're single or they have kids, or you know they they're not making what they used to, so they need to
Yeah.
find a place to live with a family, have a room there, whatever.
How long have you been living with the people you're with now?
I've been there for just shy of a month. The other women have been there 3 going on 4 months now.
Yeah. And how is that?
It's good. Every place that you go is going to have challenges.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's a way that you can see I can move forward. I'm stepping out of homelessness. I can breathe. I can set my stuff down. I can look at what are the options available now. What are the resources in the community?
Boy, that's interesting to hear you describe, like, how important those kind of basic needs are that maybe a lot of people take for granted, right? Just the ability to have your things be safe and you be safe, and to have a little time to make plans about what you want to do next.
Right. It's huge. It's huge.
I would imagine there were times in your life where that came pretty easily, and you didn't think about that as being such an important part of your life or your day, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was upper middle class. I was a springboard platform diver.
Oh.
I traveled all over, Canada and the U.S. So, I have a college degree.
Wow.
So it's, yeah, definitely.
Do you mind sharing what it was that changed in your situation that caused you to hit bottom as you did?
Not at all. For me, it was a combination of things. I had trouble holding down jobs because I have a disability that I wasn't aware of.
Oh.
So that was a factor. And still, I'm educated, so it was just more challenging for me. I went through a divorce. So then all of a sudden, I have no job. I no longer have a place to stay. Where do you go?
Yeah.
And it was that fast for me.
Wow. It was so for you. It wasn't an issue of you didn't have a chemical dependency.
No, not for me. There is that does exist in homelessness, but it's rarer and rarer.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the picture that you have.
I guess I live with that assumption that so many people who find themselves without the resources they need for housing are also struggling with some kind of chemical dependency issues, but that's not as true as someone like me assumes it to be, huh?
It's not. It really isn't. I'm a perfect example of that.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah. Wow. So tell me a little bit. Brag on Bianca, who's a friend of both of ours now for a bit. What did she do for you? What happened? Like how did you end up connected to her and thereby connected to this housing option?
We stayed at the Rose, which is a women's shelter, and it's part of the Redwood Gospel Mission. And in Santa Rosa, there are a few options, and this is one of them. And you can stay at one place for up to 6 months.
I see.
But that's it. You got to move on. So, thankfully, at the Rose, there is Bible study. And you got to go every night.
Yeah.
From 7 to 8 o'clock.
That's one of the agreements that you make, huh?
Yeah. You have to do it. It's
had you been a Bible study type person previous to your life at the Rose?
I've always been connected in some way, but Bible study on a regular basis like that, no.
Yeah.
Did
that come to you as a hard sell when they said, "Hey, we're going to want you to go to the Bible study"?
Yeah, initially maybe, but
yeah,
get you in there the first couple of times. Someone like Bianca comes in and you're hooked. So yeah, and that's true of Bianca in general. Most of the women, when she comes for Bible study on her designated night, they want to be there.
I see.
So yeah.
So you like the Bible, but you kind of loved on Bianca.
Right. Who's talking the gospel?
That's usually true. Yeah. It's much better when it's embodied in a person, isn't it? So okay, so you ended up there, and you were in this Bible study, and you met Bianca, and where did it go from there?
From there, she's expanded and invited women to come to a common table breakfast,
Oh,
and is talking about doing more of that type of thing where women can get together from what you could call it both ends of the spectrum, women who are homeless, women who are not, and just tell their stories, engage with one another and see where it goes from there. It's been very powerful. A brilliant idea.
I would imagine one of the things that you lost when you lost your permanency of housing was the connections to have friends, and even maybe the space and the time in your day to think about nurturing friendships.
That's true. Yeah, you put all your focus on, okay, I've got to, go be part of this program like the living room in Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
That's for women only, and you can go there. You can eat a couple meals. You can use the computer. You can get on the phone. Network with each other, look for jobs. But that's your focus.
Yeah.
It's not so much on really friendships.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You lose that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
then you realize, okay, well, we can kind of hang out together and make this work. We're going to have to pool resources.
And how did that idea come to you? Did Bianca or somebody else suggest that, or were you gals all talking about that together, saying like, hey, is there a way we could do that, or how did the idea come up that you would share your resources for housing together so you could be in a place better than any of you could afford on your own?
Yeah, I'll pick D, all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just realize,
Huh.
wow, here we are. What are we going to do? And people like Bianca come in and they encourage. She's really encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes in and would say, hey, stick up for yourselves. Look at the resources available to you. Work together.
Wow.
That was a message that is consistent from Bianca. So it does work. People who are at the program level, more administrative or kind of overseeing you in some way, guiding you.
And I could imagine that was an important thing too. Someone speaking some confidence into your life. Like I would think that finding yourself in the situation you're in, or the situation of the other women were in, that you might not have a lot of confidence or a lot of trust in yourself. And what was it helpful for her and others to say to you, believe in yourself and try hard and keep going? And
yes,
and to give
it is so needed. It's needed on a daily basis. We have in the shelter network, you have case management, and that's huge. You can have a case manager or case managers who are really supportive, who can say, hey, you can do this, especially if they've been through it. Some of them have, and they really understand. Then you can really go. You can get out there. You can call 211. You can be part of the Goodwill or Department of Rehab or whatever's out there. But yeah, you need that on a daily basis, because trust and having confidence, it's a big blow once you become homeless.
Yeah. And how do you see your future going here? Is there an amount of time that you can stay living in the situation you're in now, or can that go on indefinitely? Or
yeah, what's so great about this is they're committed to these women and men never having to experience homelessness again.
Wow.
Whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
So, West Sonoma County, very good. Well, very good program. We need more of them.
Yeah. Well, Julie, it's such an honor to have met you in this way, and thank you so much for being willing to share your story.
An honor to meet you, Doug. Thank you.
Right on. Thanks
for your work.
Is Bianca still there?
Yeah, she's here.
I listened to everything.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Hi, Bianca.
Hi, Doug.
Anything more that you want to add there? I've got a couple questions for you, but anything that Julie was saying that you wanted to add to?
No, I think she's just such a beautiful example of a woman who has like she said, hit bottom and has managed to overcome her circumstances. I always tell the ladies, we hear this all the time. Your circumstances don't define you, but you and I both know, and I'm sure your listeners know, that that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And when you are marginalized and disenfranchised at the level that that these women have been, and that Julie has experienced along with Tina and Cindy, it's really difficult to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, so to speak.
Yeah.
And to be in the presence of such bravery and strength, I'm really humbled by that, and just so excited to be part of their lives.
Yeah. And Bianca, how did you get into this kind of work?
So, I clearly I believe in Jesus and believe in the gospel, and I believe that that is something that you act out, and you be the good news to others. I was referred to this program mostly because I feel I have a calling to be in ministry and want to work in the church, but I'm a woman, and so that presented some challenges in the background that I was in, and I was delegated to a place where I could do the least amount of damage while still earning my Jesus points.
Unbelievable.
And so I went to the Redwood Gospel Mission because I was referred there, and very quickly encountered some of the most brave and strong women that I have ever encountered. And interestingly enough, I work with women in a rehab program as well. And what struck me the most was that I needed to work some things out in my life. I needed to understand issues of addiction, and I needed to understand issues of homelessness and being disenfranchised. And what I've learned is that we all have so much more in common, and particularly to women, I would say, speaking to one another. Basically, we have the same fears, we have the same worries, and we have the same wants and dreams of being seen and heard and understood, and having a place to tell our story and have a significance in community. And once I learned that and saw that, this work was just it's so exciting, Doug. I can't even tell you. I mean, it's so fun.
It sure sounds like it. And now, what you didn't do any kind of like training in this, or you didn't go to school for this sort of thing? This was just you figuring out what's the best way for me to.
No, Doug. And what's interesting is like I sometimes hang out with brilliant people, and I had the privilege of meeting you and others, and when you're working in the church, that can be intimidating when you don't have that education. But what I want to say to people is regardless of whether you have a college background, which I do, but in theology per se, or have studied the Bible or any other scriptures, I really think that sometimes can hold you back, because you become so smart about what it is you know. And really what is needed is a certain amount of emotional intelligence and a willingness to know that God is still doing things. And when I'm overeducated about that, sometimes I can miss it. So people had told me, be glad you didn't go to seminary.
Yeah, I would echo that. I figured you'd find your time doing other things.
Yes.
That might be good things, but you wouldn't have a chance to do these great things.
It really is, it's really about different perspectives, and regardless of our background and where we come from, it's really a willingness to being opened up. And I think that's one of the great things that the gospel can do, is can open us up. And that's what I bring to the Rose, and hope to bring there, that these ladies would know it's not about saying a certain prayer or asking for certain things or ensuring anybody's salvation. It's really about living into kingdom life, which has to do with them knowing their inherent worth and encouraging one another. And they do that for me. I mean, it's not something I go do for them. It's a relational interaction. And my hope is that my community, whether it's here locally or anywhere else in America or the world even, if we could understand that we can be connected to one another in an intentional way, rather than just in a just knowing that we are. I think most of us know we are connected and interconnected, but we have to move to the place of really living in that place of connection and taking chances.
And did you know many people who were living in homeless situations, but before you started this kind of work?
No, not at all. And
so did they seem really different? Like in your mind, did you think like, well, homeless people, that's a whole other person or a whole other kind of situation than I would ever know how to deal with?
I think there is that, there's that assumption and there's stereotypes about homelessness. And I would say even in homelessness, there are different levels of homelessness. And I think, we haven't talked today because I personally don't have a lot of experience or serve a lot of people who are, for example, homeless and mentally ill. Because the network for these people, the net, if you were to picture a net, it's very, the holes are much larger for people with who are disenfranchised and have mental illness issues. They fall through that net much easier than a woman or a man who has a certain amount of willingness left to still, put on some boxing gloves and go through life. So I did have some stereotypes about homelessness, and I think honestly I still do sometimes, because it's just I wish I didn't, but I think I do still sometimes. But what I've experienced is, Julie had mentioned the breakfast, is that most of us are really willing to reach out to one another. And this breakfast was put together, for example, the common table is about women in our community who are your quote unquote normal woman, and then these women who are homeless from all these different shelters. And one of the things that we noticed, which I knew was going to happen, but you can't really tell people this is going to happen without them having to experience it first. What's so beautiful is that once the room was filled with every one of us, the volunteers, the people who put this breakfast together, and the women who were coming to the breakfast, you couldn't tell a difference. You couldn't really tell who was homeless and who was your woman who didn't experience that way or that form of disenfranchisement. And the other thing that became very obvious is that we all at some point have experienced that sting of marginalization. And when we begin to find and express how we've dealt with that and how that felt and how we came together and overcame certain things, then we have something in common, and that's just beautiful to watch.
Yep.
Was that Julie chiming in on the
yes,
yep?
Julie chimed in.
Julie, why is it that brought a yep out of you? What were you hearing in that you know to be so true?
She's right. These women came together in ways that you had to be there to really experience it. And it was really beautiful. People opened up like you usually don't on a daily basis. So kudos to Bianca for that breakfast.
Well, good for the two of you. And Bianca, obviously for the work that you're doing and following the path, even when you didn't know where it was leading, you just knew you needed to do something else and do something good. And then look what it's brought you to. I mean, I bet you could have never guessed a few years ago that you'd be in these relationships. And
absolutely not guessed. And there was a moment, and there still is, with this kind of work comes sometimes a frustration and an urgency, that is let's all get into relationship with one another. And one of the things that I say to the ladies at the Rose and to these women who have experienced homelessness is that it's not about charity.
Wow.
It's really about sharing. We need to share our lives. And when you share, then all the rest of it will come together. And I can say that in our community, your community might be different wherever you are, and listening to this is that you really do have to assess, are there resources available to homeless men and women? If there are, we don't need to get into competition with one another. We just need to help one another be heard and seen and be encouraged to really take these opportunities that are available to us. And the other thing is, like Julie is a beautiful voice and an advocate for other women. And we need that. We need to hear the experiences that these women are having. so that the change can happen, hopefully.
Well, Julie, I'm sure Bianca is appreciative to you as well that you were willing to be vulnerable and to participate in this way.
Yeah,
So
she's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes.
Seems like a really great thing. Congratulations to the two of you.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks so much for taking the time.
You are sure welcome. It's an honor. It's an honor.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay, Julie, I hope we meet sometime.
That'd be great.
Right on. Okay, have a great day.
All right, bye, Doug.
Bye. I mean, how about that, huh? It never ceases. How am I doing without the sidekick? It just never ceases to amaze me about the ways in which people do these really, really great things. To Bianca and to Julie and to the other women that are living in that program, Cindy, and it's just a great example of people making the world that they know needs to be made, and sometimes doing it against the odds. And so, Big Pagitt Radio gets right on to those people, right on Bianca and Julie and all the others who are doing those things. May your hope bring hope. May your faith bring faith. May your love bring love, and may your strength bring strength. All right, Doug Pagitt Radio, summer edition coming to you in bits and pieces. We'll talk with you soon.